Let's get into Jonesboro, though. Enough joking around. There was a lot of stuff that went down at Jonesboro. Super interesting tournament. Did not shake down really how we expected in a lot of ways, but the results, Ricky was able to take it down by 4 strokes over Calvin Heimberg.
I mean, did it not, though?
Eagle McMahon came in third. I was more thinking an FPO. And then I went to MPO.
Okay.
But,
okay, I was like, it was 2 out of the 3 were right.
Ricky, though, is having himself a year right now.
Ricky might be impossible to beat.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing I've seen this online, and people have been talking about Ricky having himself a great season. Mm-hmm. And people are like, well, is he really, though? He just has 3 wins. Well, one's a National Tour, one's a Pro Tour, and one's a Pro Tour Silver Series, his 3 wins. And then I think he has like a 5th place and an 11th place outside of that. But the thing we have to remember is a dominant season nowadays looks so much different because the field is so much better.
Well, yeah, and how many has he won? Like 3 out of 4?
Like 3 out of 5, I'm pretty sure.
I'm saying it's like, well, I'm saying like on a current streak. Like
the current streak's 3 out of 4.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like,
is it first, 5th, first, or first, 5th, first?
I don't know, but
one
like
of those
the current event is that Ricky is unbeatable. Like, yeah, maybe a few events from now he won't be on the hot streak he's on right now, but like as of now, Ricky is like on a streak where he looks really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now it's pretty hard to argue for someone else not being the number 1 player in the world right now.
I don't know if anybody can beat him right now.
I think the closest person to Ricky this year so far is Calvin Heimberg.
Calvin is literally captain 2nd place, and like he's obviously capable of winning. I'm not saying that. I'm not like I've said about Eagle before. I'm like, Eagle's so good, but he can't win. Calvin is a player who can win and can probably win a lot, but he just like is so good at coming in 2nd place, it seems like, because he's like so consistent. He's
like the Catrina Allen of the MPO field.
Yeah, kind of. Like he's just so consistent.
He's always
where
up
like
there.
Unless somebody has to go off to beat him each week, but then even like on the weeks where that does happen, he's just always there in 2nd.
Yeah, he's still there.
Like he is like the guy to beat every week. It almost seems like, just because you have to beat him to win, because he's always in 2nd.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the overall year and compare Calvin's overall year so far to Ricky's overall year, I mean, we're still pretty early in the year, but we're also, I mean, things are moving along.
Yeah,
Calvin's probably having himself an overall better year, average finish wise. That might not even be true. It'd be pretty close. But I think Ricky's having a better year because he's able to have one Pro Tour win and 1 National Tour win.
Right, you got to factor in
which I think with how much parity we're seeing, having like a multiple Pro Tour win season, even if it's 2 or 3, is like, it's almost going to be unheard of. Like that's going to be very tough to do this year.
Yeah, if you winning, I feel like the norm is going to be like the best players in the world win like 2, maybe 3 Pro Tours. And if you win like 4 Pro Tours in a year, you just dominated. Like you had awesome
yourself
season.
A serious year.
Because like that's what it's becoming. Although I will say, like even saying that, like I really think the way it's shaping out this year, like now that we're kind of hitting our stride with the season, it does seem like it's going to be really hard for anybody to beat Calvin or Ricky. Like I wonder what's going to happen, like if those guys are going to lose like ever this year.
I mean, it's definitely going to be hard, but you also every weekend have Paul in contention. This weekend, I think he came in 5th, but he was up there.
He was in contention, but he wasn't.
You will have Eagle coming in and out. You should have Chris Dickerson kind of coming in as the season goes on. He hasn't yet, but
James Conrad's honestly been there more than other people.
As I'm saying, there's still plenty of people who are capable of toppling them.
Right.
That it's not, I don't think we're going to see nearly as dominant of a year as we've seen in the year.
Well, my thing is like when you talk about like the Calvin and Ricky thing, it just seems to be like as they're getting warmed up this season, it's like the only way, my opinion, I mean, Paul, you can throw into this mix too. He just hasn't been as consistent as them. But in my opinion, if Calvin or Ricky is on, you're not beating either of them unless you're Paul. And so you got like a 50-50 shot. If one of the other is on, you're not going to beat them. And it seems like the percentage chance that neither one of them has a good weekend is getting like lower and lower as they get warmed up, to where it's like you got to hope both of them have a bad weekend, because if one of them has a good weekend, they win. Like it's getting to that point, it seems like.
It is definitely. I still think that
because Calvin Heimberg's golf and Ricky's golf, their best golf, nobody other than Paul, maybe Eagle, can beat them right now. I don't think.
Yeah, but I mean that's what we said at the beginning of the year. Is those 4 guys. I think we might have thrown Kevin Jones in there.
I'm just saying it's because
that was a shock, but
at the beginning of the year things I feel like were a little more shaken up. But as they've gotten into their stride, I think it's
those 4 players have always been the 4 players. is what I'm saying.
Well, we thought Dickerson was going to be in that mix too.
We thought, yeah.
He hasn't been.
It hasn't been. But those four are like the obvious four. Eagle, honestly, if you look at just this year, you can't really put Eagle in that mix.
No, he's not having a great year.
He hasn't really blamed it on his back much. He's posted it a few times, but he hasn't put it out there a lot, which I respect. We talked about that a little bit. It's not like he's blaming every week he's going out and he's immediately like, oh, well, my back, I'm injured.
Right.
You don't see him posting that a ton. But that we don't know how much that plays into
he's
it.
Having an okay season.
Skill-wise, he's definitely up there. I agree with that.
Right. Yeah, he's having an okay season. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he has a win. Like, there's a lot of good players, really good players that don't have wins yet. So, like, he's having a fine season. It's just like Eagle McMahon, I still think is like maybe the most talented like thrower of the frisbee. When he's at his best, like he seems like ridiculously good. So I'm just a little surprised how he's played this season. And I think it comes down to his mental game isn't quite there. I think Eagle McMahon, if he stays healthy, like could get really dangerous as he gets into his upper 20s and gets like is in the game a bit more and his mental game gets stronger, he could get even more dangerous.
Yeah, I think if Eagle can develop like some touch, he has touch, but if he could develop like a really good like finesse type upshot game, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where he's like just as comfortable with finessey shots and like woodsy touch shots as he is with those power shots, then he's going to be a real force to be reckoned with. Because right now he's a force to be reckoned with without a super great Woods touch game.
Admittedly, Eagle McMahon is at his best when he's throwing huge hyzers.
Yeah.
Like he is like the best player in the world when it comes to just stretch back
and that goes forehand and backhand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Both.
If it's a wide open course,
that's why he won in Vegas.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to bet against him. That's why that's also why he's up here at Jonesboro.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very like you can make a few mistakes, and if you're crushing it out there, those mistakes won't hurt you that bad type thing. Mm-hmm. It's that type of course, and that's why he's obviously up in the mix here.
Yeah.
Another person that's having themselves one heck of a season, also on Discmania, is Casey White.
Yeah.
He put together another solid tournament. I feel like we've talked about him a few different times. And what's important about this tournament is he was able to qualify for the USDGC alongside Miles Seaborn, Ben Calloway, Colton Montgomery, and Aaron Gossage. That's how I'm going to say his last name.
Those USDGC spots were really up for grabs. That was like interesting. I wonder, I don't know how many, I don't really know where you can keep track of how many spots are up for grabs at each event. But
that one was 5, I believe.
Yeah, that one was 5, but I don't know like for the future events before US. But that's like a really fun storyline. That's like if the tournament kind of gets out of reach, it's almost more fun to pay attention. Like, oh, who's going to get a USDGC?
Yeah, because going into the final days, we talked about it during the follow-up. There was like 15 people that could have got in there. Yeah. And at one point during the final round, Brody Smith was in like the second USDGC spot when he was like 7 down through 11.
Yeah.
That was like an exciting thing to watch. And then obviously his round kind of fell apart for holes 12 through 18. Another player that we were looking at, obviously part of Team Foundation, is Gannon Burr. Mm-hmm. He had snuck up in there, and again, I think that's a very fun storyline to watch. But congrats to Casey White on that. He was also able to sneak into the top 20 in Pro Tour standings right now.
Yeah, he's like kind of like almost a most improved player candidate right now. He's like having a better season than a lot of really good pros. Like you don't usually think of Casey White as like the kind of player that he's been this season.
Yeah.
Like he's really impressing me. I didn't think he was that good, and to be honest, like he's proven me wrong this season. He's playing really well. So
yeah, it's been a very, very impressive season. I mean, I would have been in the same boat as you. I mean, neither of us picked him in our preseason top 20.
No, yeah.
But I think both of us would pick him in our midseason top 20.
Yeah, good for him.
So, I mean, yeah, definitely impressive stuff from him. As we move over to FPO, we had Catrina Allen winning this by 8 strokes. Mm-hmm. Paige Pierce coming in second. Sarah Hokum in third. Before this event, you on the podcast said basically if Paige doesn't win this event, it could be the first signs that she's in trouble.
Yeah.
Which she made this Instagram post that was a little weird. Basically saying the second place at Jonesboro stung. And it eventually, she talked about kind of what was going on with the event, and it eventually led to her saying that she's going to be taking some time off, heading to Hawaii for a reset and recharge. Which this is going to make her miss 2 Silver Series events and a national tour event.
Yeah.
So I think even she's kind of on this, like, she might be in trouble.
Well, I think she's probably making a good decision. I think taking a little breather, she can afford to do it, obviously, is a good idea. I think she probably needs to, because if she's going to play every weekend and is stressing out about how she needs to get back on track, like, she needs to like sit back and like think for a second, I think, and like kind of regain her like mojo. I think that's kind of what she alluded to in the post. Because I had mentioned the whole thing about Jonesboro kind of being like a big deciding tournament for her. She still made it really confusing for me, because I thought she was either going to win or just like blow up again, and she did neither. She came in second, so it was very confusing for me to decide. Still,
but she was not. The only time she was really in it was after round 1.
No, so that makes it even almost more confusing. It's like she didn't blow up, but she didn't play great, and she came in second. So like I can't decide. I think she's just playing like she's bad golf. I think like the whole like time, like skip a few events. She mentioned, I mean, I'll give her credit. Like she mentioned in the Instagram post, like it seemed like she was just not practicing as much. Like she's kind of mentioned like I need to be making more putting reps and things like that. So yeah, I think it's probably for the best for her to just like get herself out of the storylines and FPO for a second, like recharge and then attack the next event. And then hopefully she'll be back to normal, because like she mentioned in the post, she needed 1,008 golf to win. And like we know Paige Pierce is capable of that. She's just not playing well right now. And I think she just lost a bit of confidence, and she can gain it back like that. That's the game of golf. Like you can lose your mojo, lose that swagger, and then all it takes is one good round, and all of a sudden it's right back, and you're like, oh yeah, and you kind of rediscover yourself. So I'm not closing the book on Paige Pierce. Like I think she's probably gonna win another world title or 2 or 3 before it's all said and done.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like it's been a very like interesting thing to follow, but I think the bigger storyline out of this event was how well Catrina Allen played.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason that Paige even is a storyline in these events is simply because she has built her whole brand and like her reputation on dominance
and never losing. Yeah.
It's a similar thing with Paul. Mm-hmm. Whereas as soon as either of them don't win an event or don't win a few events in a row,
big deal.
It's a storyline.
Yeah.
And you see Facebook posts. Now, one thing you could talk about is that potentially bad for them? Because like let's just say that as these players keep getting better and better and they aren't dominant, let's just say that this is a trend that continues for the rest of the year. How relevant is Paige now? Right now, she's obviously very relevant, but let's say this was the rest of the year. Let's say somehow she went the rest of the year without a win.
Yeah.
Which is a crazy scenario that I don't think will happen. But let's say it did. Is Paige Pierce still relevant in that scenario simply because the storyline right now is what's going on with Paige because she's not winning? Mm-hmm. It's almost like we always expect her to win. So her coming in 3rd or 4th is like shocking.
Yeah.
Because you almost in your head are like, wow, she's playing really bad. So if she continuously did that, is that going to end up hurting her, you think?
Well, I mean, relevance within disc golf is pretty correlated directly to just how many fans you have. Yeah. And the thing you got to remember about sports is there's not really a huge correlation between... There's a big correlation between success and gaining fans. There's not a very big correlation between success and losing fans. Like, the Cleveland Browns football team still has fans, and they were awful for so long. Tiger Woods, when he stunk for a few years... did not really lose any fans. He might not have been gaining any new ones.
People were just excited to still see him.
Right. So, like, even though Paige Pierce may not gain a ton of fans during a bad stretch in her season, I don't think, like, everybody who's a Paige fan, like, is not really going to, like, be like, oh, I'm not a fan of Paige anymore because she's not playing well. Like, especially disc golf, which is a pretty, like, buddy, like, we love the players like they're our family type community. Like, no, I don't think so. And especially like Discraft is not going to treat her any differently, at least at this point, because, obviously they pay her well and they love her at Discraft. So, no, I mean, it is kind of like we've talked about, like it's shifting to that new norm of like players not winning as much as they used to anymore. And like that's going to happen. And we haven't even had all the really good European players over yet.
Yeah.
So it's going to get even harder for her to get back to that kind of dominance she had. But you also remember that the sport continues to grow. So even as she may not be picking up fans from already within the sport as fans go in, she's still considered the most popular female player, or one of them at least. So I don't think it's gonna have a huge like big impact or anything.
Yeah, I definitely think you're right though that the bigger storyline, probably the biggest storyline, was Catrina Allen's performance, specifically her performance in round 2. Now, something that I found very interesting when I was looking at this is this is just what she's capable of. So if you look at her round 1 and round 3 were not like out of this world spectacular rounds. Round 1, she shot an 8 down. You had 3 players that shot 7 down.
Mm-hmm.
Round 3, I forget what she shot, but I don't think she was a hot round for that day.
Nah, maybe like 6 or 7.
Yeah. Decent rounds, but that's like a normal, I feel like those were both normal Catrina Allen rounds.
Yeah.
Round 2, she shot 12 down, which is seemingly, oh my word, she just popped off. What actually changed there? If you look at her stats across all 3 rounds, the only thing that seriously changed was her putting.
Yeah.
Her putting went from, I think, mid-60s, mid-70s up to 90%.
Yeah.
The rest of her stats literally did not change. I think the biggest one was fairway hit went up 10%, but we were talking about this in the follow-up. That's not really that big of an improvement because it seems like it is, but if you improve 10% fairway hit, that's like 1 more fairway.
Right.
Or a fairway and a half more, something like that. So it's not like that gained her so many strokes. It was literally just her putting that separated her here. And to me, if I'm Kat right now, that is a huge confidence boost to me. Because now I've seen it. And I'm like, look, that, like I just beat the entire field by overall this tournament, 8 strokes. Pretty much solely because of my round 2. And the only thing that changed about my game, it wasn't like I just was playing perfect. Only thing that really changed about my game was I was making my putts.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, we've always said that if Kat's putter, she figures it out and gets confident in it, like she's going to be really dangerous. And seems like it's starting to happen this year. And yeah, I mean, right now she's the player to beat for sure.
Yeah. I mean, she's been around all season. She's always up there. This is her first like dominant win, at least that I know of, over Paige. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that it's been said for, I feel like years now of it's just her putting, but it's hard to believe it because you'd never see it. And you're like, yeah, well, it can't just be her putting.
Right.
If you look at the stats, it's just her putting.
Yeah.
Like that was it. I've said it. I've said it so many times. I legitimately believe Catrina Allen is the most talented thrower of the disc in the FPO field. I think she's the best thrower. It's just that she's not the best putter.
Yeah.
And that's what holds her back. And round 2 proved it. All she did was change up her putting. The final storyline from this was Macy Walker. Mm-hmm. New name. You might not have ever heard of her. She kind of burst onto the scene here. She was able to claim Throw Peak Women's Disc Golf Championship, which is kind of like the U.S. Women's type of event, USDGC type of event. Claimed a spot alongside Kona Panis and finished 4th overall. Now, one thing we have to mention here is 4th place was still a decent distance off the lead.
Yeah.
I think she shot 6 down, and I believe that was like 7 behind Sarah Hokum in 3rd, 9 behind Paige, which makes it 17 behind the win.
Sure, yeah.
So very impressive 4th place, but it's not like she was in there competing for the win. After round 1, though, she was. Mm-hmm. She was 7 down. She was one of the 7 downs. This is her first loss of 2021, which is also impressive. I could not find information if she's planning on like touring, like if she's just kind of ready to go on the road or if this was a kind of in the area type thing. But I would imagine with a performance like this, it's got to be in the back of her mind that she knows what she's capable of.
No, yeah. Looking at her like local stats, it seemed like she's been like just dominating her local scene, which is what you should do before you ever test the waters on tour. So yeah, I don't know if she's thinking about it or not, but yeah, after you have finishes like that, I'm sure you start thinking, like if you really are into disc golf, you probably start thinking, like maybe I could make a living off this sport. Like it probably surprises some people. Like they go out there and they're like, oh, I'm better than I thought I was. Yeah. So yeah, we might see a new name on the FPO tour soon.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting to kind of see her have a performance like that, and hopefully something that she is able to repeat over and over kind of throughout the season.